Now, we'd like to take a moment and talk about delivery of energy in terms of Aikido application. In the wider sphere of Aikido, they often talk about using the center to apply energy to the other man to make your throw go. In judo terminology, that's using Hazumi. And Hazumi just means that when you're in relation to the other person and you want to deliver energy to their body, your whole center of gravity moves. Your whole center goes forward or backward or in whatever direction, and that causes him to move with you. Your center moves, his center has to move along with you. That's Hazumi. And you can see a really fine example of Hazumi in, say, like Mayatoshi, as the man comes into attack and we swing over here. One can get all locked into doing wrist locks and such, but fundamentally you can turn loose of it and step with the man, deliver your center to his center, and you have a very principled form of what amounts to Mayatoshi right there, with no harms at all. Hazumi as a functional activity is the center of gravity of your body moving through space, delivering energy to the other man's center of gravity. The other main way of applying energy to a person is what is known as Ikioi. And Ikioi is an isolated application of energy. Typically, when we get into Aikido, people often talk about, well, use your center and don't use your muscles. Well, it's a little counterintuitive. We're always using our muscles. They're basically saying use your center of gravity moving on your leg muscles to go through space to deliver energy. Don't use the muscles of the upper body. But there are moments when we do. And when you use them at the appropriate times, the Ikioi become a very useful and, in fact, more efficient tool for several applications. One of the most common ones you see coming out of Kodo Dayan, the man's coming into grasp, and as he grasps, we make this little funny action with our wrist. It interrupts his gripping function, and it places him into an exaggerated rising action. We'll do it maybe from this angle, you'll see a little better. Right here. Without moving my center of gravity around, just by changing at the wrist, doing a little Ikioi here, we affect his whole center of gravity. Our body gets into motion after it for Hazumi to make the throw go, but the kazushi itself is occurring as just a function of Ikioi. Another good example of this occurs, say you have someone in a second release motion, and he begins to rotate. As he turns around, if you make a little action with your shoulder and arm, kind of like you're swinging a lasso here, you have a very nice application of Orimi Nagi here. It's very simple. Right there. If you try to extend that out and say, well, I'm doing it wrong because my arm is waving and really I want to do this with my whole center moving, you actually wind up deadening the effect. You wind up trying to make a big action where really a small one's the most efficient. And so there are very distinct times and places where Ikioi application can actually be the most advantageous. And you have to find those spots and practice the right things at the right times. Reducing everything into a basis of always use your center, never use your muscles, is sort of a fundamentalist point of view that misses the subtleties of what's actually going on often in application. So look for Ikioi, and look for Ikioi where it's the most efficient thing to do. Don't let it clutter up your world of proper Hazumi, but also don't cast it out like it's always a bad idea. Sometimes it's exactly the right idea. So, thank you. Thank you.